Welcome to episode 50 of my Let's Build series. Thank you so much for stopping by in this video. Today we are going to finally do a world tour. I'm going to show you my entire world that I've been working so hard on in survival mode. I started this world when Minecraft 1.13, the aquatic update, came out, and I was so excited to build something that had more of a tropical theme and was focused around the water. Since then, we've done so many things with this world, and my community has grown so much and contributed so many different ideas and lore. I'm so excited about it. If you've been following this channel, then you know that I am mainly a creative mode builder. I wanted to use this series as a way to prove myself in survival mode that even though normally I don't have to gather resources in order to build, having to gather resources and make things functional is still something that I am capable of. I'm super excited to tour you all around this world and show you what I've been working so hard on. Let's get started. Alright, let's start off the tour talking a little bit about episode 1. In episode 1 of this series, we spawned on that island over there where you can see the start of our little sandcastle village. We quickly swam over here and set up a little home for ourselves right on the beach, and I called it my sandcastle starter home. This starter home is still here and it will remain here for the entirety of this series. I really love this sandcastle starter home, and even though it's really overshadowed by our palace, that I promise we'll get around to in just a moment, I still like it, and it serves currently as a connection between this island and right through this tunnel here over to the next island, where you can see we've made an entire village of these type of structures. Let's head inside our starter house. So there's 2 floors, this main one down there, and then this one up here, which had our bedroom, and this lovely little walkway that we can come along here. And now I have recently added a basement. Also in this chest, we have our first ever wooden pickaxe. I really need to get that framed somewhere in here. I think that would be quite cool. Anyways, let's head down this unfinished staircase into the unfinished tunnel. I need to get around to dressing this whole area up and making it pretty. Through here, we have the underwater tunnel connecting our starter home to the village. This is actually the second underwater tunnel that we created. I surrounded it by a little bit of coral. Our conduit tree is just right over there. And on this side, we've got a shipwreck that we can see. I love all the different moving kelp and coral. It really helps dress up the outside area and add some interest as we're walking through. I like having a lot of connections between the land and the sea in this palace, and you'll see that theme running throughout this entire build. As we exit here, we are officially in the Sandcastle Village. This village was created to serve 2 main functions. First of all, it's tying in the starter house, as I said. And second of all, directly under this fountain, we have our mob farm. It's designed by Il Mango, and it gives me all of the mob drops that I need, such as gunpowder to get my fireworks. This village is fairly unfinished so far, but we've got some market stalls over here, some simple decorations. The buildings themselves don't have interior yet, or roofs in some cases, but I promise I am going to get around to finishing all of this off and adding the final details to this village. I think it adds a really nice, kind of simple touch to this island. It decorates the place, and because of the colors that we've used, we have differentiated it from the palace, but it is still fairly similar and definitely ties into the overall theme. Over there by those jungle trees, that's just where I currently collect my wood for all of these palm trees that we're putting up. I still need to make this whole place a lot more lush with more life and flowers and trees and grass and all of that fun stuff. Anyways, let's get our feet wet a little bit and jump into the water here. Through here, you can tell that we have the conduit effect on, so we can see everything very nicely and we can breathe infinitely. This area of ruins right by the palace is our conduit tree. It is made of coral and prismarine with some pink coral flowers, and you can see that the roots of the tree are intertwined around our conduit. I love the magical effect that that gives down here, especially surrounded by all of these runes. It's really beautiful. I love this area. I think it's one of my favorite underwater structures that I've done for sure. As you can see from the tree, there is a fairly obvious path, and this is something that I struggled with a little bit to kind of tie in. As you can see, there is an underwater ravine cutting our palace in half. This was a little bit awkward to work at. I still need to fix up some of the terraforming in this area, but essentially what I did in here was create a bit of a mermaid village. But instead of having it just be a non-functional village, I decided to make each of the houses have a function. So all of these houses are small little farms for me. This one, for example, is the sugarcane farm for more rockets. If we continue on past this on a similar layer, we've got this double-story one. Up at the top, we've got a beet farm. It is automatic. You just push this button and it all comes in here. You can farm whatever you need here. It doesn't have to be beet, but I was using beet for dye. We've also got our cocoa beans. And, of course, the star of the show, the cows. They're just enjoying their little hay bales and water troughs over here with some fishies keeping them company and entertained. Right below this, we've got another set of farms, and this is going to be our slime farm and our cactus farm. You'll notice as I tour this entire world that all of our farms are very, very tiny. The slime farm is probably our largest. We've got a lot of slime coming in from here, but it's still just one chunk. I did the minimal that I needed basically because this is a single player world. I'm not supplying a whole bunch of people, and I don't need chests upon chests upon chests of cactus and sugarcane and slime. I just need a little bit. So the farms are small, but they're enough for what I need. As you can see up through here, we've got this little window. I need to fix up the water a little bit around here. It kind of pops out and under our flooring. There's little imperfections like that all around this place, but I kind of like that it's perfectly imperfect. When we get up into the palace, I'll show you this window once again. The last house right here brings us into our storage room. Let me just pop on through here. We are once again surrounded by the underwater world. Something that I really love about this entire world is how tied together the underwater world is with the above ground tropical world. I've really enjoyed adding these little aquariums everywhere, and all of these fish in all of the aquariums are all named. Each fish has a name after a commenter on this series. So if you've commented before, there is a chance that you are a fish in this world. We've got quite a few of them. I've actually hit the passive mob cap in this world. Through here, we've got another one of those lovely aquariums directly in the center of my storage room. Storage room, pretty self-explanatory. I store things. I know, shocking, crazy. It's fairly organized, but I'm not a super organized person, so, you know, it's not insanely organized. Most of this stuff, by the way, is from my end rating. I'm not actually that rich that I can just make all of this diamond gear. Through here, we've got our lovely chicken farm, and if we continued that way, we would hit the starter house once again. Hello, little chickens. Are you enjoying? Oh, thank you for the egg. Alright, let's continue along. Down here, I've got a couple little workstations. This used to be an auto smelter. I need to build it back up. I moved it upstairs temporarily. We've just got lots of stuff down here that I kind of don't want laying around in the general palace, and also a clock. And speaking of that clock, I should definitely get some sleep. This palace is not spawn-proofed yet, so I tend to sleep whenever I get a chance, until I get a chance to slap everything over or light it all up. Through here, we have the first underwater tunnel that we built. I believe we built this back in episode 4. It's also got an above-ground bridge going directly above it, and from here we get a great view of the terrarium, the underwater and above water gardens, and on this side we can see a little bit of those palm trees from that island peeking out. In here, we enter into our enchanting tower. We go up the spiral staircase, look at this lovely aquarium on our way up, and right at the top of the bubble column sits our enchantment table. Oh, this is one of my favorite interior decorations that I've done. I love the interior of this enchanting tower. I think it really brings this whole place to life and gives it a really solid function. And we can, of course, continue up these stairs, and up here is actually where I store my enchanted books. So, right on the table here, we've got a buried treasure map. This is actually a map of before the palace was finished, and you can see we had a buried treasure right here, just off our enchantment tower. And up here, I, of course, store my enchanted books, and if I ever need any, I can just come up and grab them, and it gives me a good reason to come and chill in my study. I really like this room. It's quite cozy and calming. Let's head back down and exit the enchantment tower, and finally enter the main event, the palace. Once again, you will notice as we're going through here that you're going to see lots of blank walls like these here, that up there, that over there. That's just because when I was building this, I decided that it would be much easier to get all of the roof in and all of the walls in and kind of do the details in stages, just because this is such a massive project. If I'm going to start putting in details before the walls are done, I feel like it would get a little bit awkward. So to keep things consistent, we are basically still in the detailing phase of this palace, but the walls and roof are officially all in, so it's making our job a lot easier and a lot more fun now. Let's cross this bridge and enter into the main hallway of our palace. I really love this hallway. I think it has such a grand feeling throughout it. We've got goldfish chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, of course. I think this gives a really cool feeling, almost like abstract art hanging from these pillars here. I tried to make this whole room feel like it is very supported, so we've got these big, thick beams going all the way up the side and across the roof, so that this place doesn't look like it's just going to fall down at any moment. On either side of the main hallway, we've got these different elevation changes with balconies so that we can get a good view of either the sandcastle village, or on this side we get a lovely view of our unfinished gardens. And in the middle of the staircases, we have this window that we just saw from underwater, and this gives us a wonderful view of that lovely mermaid village down in the underwater ravine. I really love how this kind of ties everything together. Continuing along, we have our largest aquarium. This aquarium reaches all the way up the highest tower of this entire palace, and around it is a spiral staircase. The spiral staircase is one of the things that was decided on by my community. I put a poll on the screen in one of the episodes, and all of you decided that a spiral staircase would be a good fit here in order to access the throne room. Speaking of which, let's climb that now and go get a look at that throne room. I love walking up here. Staircases surrounded by aquariums is just such a cool idea. It makes it so much more interesting to actually walk up here. Although there's no fish swimming around down here right now, they're probably all up there. It's still quite interesting to see all of the coral and kelp, I think. Alright, and crossing this bridge, we have our throne room. I decided to go with a prismarine throne because prismarine is my favorite block and emerald is my favorite gemstone. So I think this throne suits me well. I've got my armor on either side, and I'm going to get a lot more of these armor stands on either side as well. In the center here, we've got our map room. This is an updated map of what our palace looks like so far, and we've even got a little bit of the village. So this gives you a good idea of the layout of this place. I really like this view. I'm proud of the layout that I've done, and I can't wait to finish it and see what it looks like then. This is also the room where we've been doing a little bit of planning. Just so that all of you know that your comments have been heard, I tend to like to write them here so that I have a checklist of things that I need to get through. Behind our throne, we have the balcony that overlooks our enchantment tower and some of our other ocean and coral reef areas. Alright, I think that's it for the throne room. Let's head back down the spiral staircase. Now that we've seen the throne room, I think it's appropriate that we head into this first door here, which is the basement. This is where I put my mine shaft originally when I didn't know there was going to be a whole palace above it, and I decided instead of getting rid of that, I would work it into the design. This was a little bit of a cave here and a ravine. I decided to turn it into a wine cellar, and hidden, tucked away back here is actually our mine entrance. I decided not to build this up or make it fancy because I don't spend any on-camera time down here. It's just a little place that I can go whenever I need resources. There is something down here though that I need to show you, so let's go down. If we go far enough down this strip mine, we will come across this area here. This is actually where those mob drops collect. This is directly under that dolphin statue that I showed you, and as you can see, it's very, very full. So this is a bit of an unfinished redstone project that I need to work on. It's probably a good live stream project, honestly. It's only running into one double chest right now, so I need to go ahead and transfer all of this to a water column that'll push it up and actually store it in the village so that I don't have to come down here and look at this. Somebody remind me to get around to doing that. Alright, there's one other thing that I need to show you down in this wine cellar, and that is this lever right here. If I come through here, we are in yet another ravine. I really love how many ravines are here. The underwater ravine is just right over there. You might have heard the cows a little bit earlier. So this is an area that I wanted to make sort of a secret bunker. My community and I thought it would contribute greatly to the lore between the humans and the mermaids, as this could be a safe place for the humans since the mermaids already have their village. I thought this was a really cute idea, so I put a little secret entrance right here, and hopefully that will be a good project for us to work on at some point. I've got so many projects going. Oh, by the way, these chests down here, they're all just filled with cobblestone. I didn't want to fill up my storage room with that, so I've been using the shelving here to store some of that. Now that we've seen the basement, I think it's a good idea to head all the way up to the tallest point of this tower. And I have made that super easy in this palace. You don't even have to use the elytra. Because these pillars are 3 by 3, there's of course a hole in the middle. So I've gone ahead and made some elevators to get up and down quite easily. Otherwise, travel around here on staircases would take a long time because this is a long way up. So this tower here is what I have turned into my nether portal room. I've used very, very large nether portals in here. This is possible in vanilla, by the way. I think you can even go a little bit bigger than this. Not sure what the max size is, but you can definitely go wider, if not higher. So, as you can see here, if I fly away, oh, we're getting a wonderful sunset view as I do this. Let me just fly out here. So, as you can see, the windows of this tower are actually nether portal blocks. I really love this. I think it suits the palace really well, as opposed to having just normal windows or a normal small little nether portal. I don't think a small nether portal fits here. I think we needed something quite large to fit the scale of the palace. And through here, you can see we've got some fish swimming around. This is the top of that aquarium that we just saw down below. I really like being able to walk on this and look down through there and see all the lovely fishies and everything. One of my favorite areas for sure. By the way, in our sandcastle village, you may have noticed that there is a smaller portal there right now. That is just because these portals are not properly linked up yet, so when I went to use them, one spawned over there. That's just an example of another simple little thing that I need to fix. I don't actually travel to the Nether very often, so it wasn't noticeable until recently. Sorry I haven't fixed that sooner. Hello, Mr. Pigman. Alright, well, it appears the pigman and I would like to look at the dragon now. So this is our monument for our dragon fight. We've got a dragon egg right in the center on this pedestal, and off to the side of it, some of our lovely rewards like the head of the dragon, our first elytra, Gem's Grace, and the bow that we use to take down the dragon, the Prismarine Piercer. On this side, we've got our set of armor, minus the helmet. I'm still wearing that. I think having an area like this was a great way to have a monument for the dragon and use these blocks that I probably otherwise would have just had in storage. I like this. It adds some interest to this area that otherwise wouldn't have been here. In order to get down from this tower, we simply head into the other pillar and we'll just drop all the way down. That's quite a fun one. Alright, now that we've seen the basement and the upper floors, I think we can go ahead and look through the rest of the interior of this palace. Most of this is still very much incomplete, but we've got lots of cute areas that I've really enjoyed building, such as this little sitting area. It really helps to give life to this palace and make it look like it truly is lived in. We've got a little closet over here that I think I'll eventually put some storage in, and in this room we also have another staircase that brings us up into the other half of the second and third floors. You can see from here this is directly level with the throne room over there, and I am eventually going to connect it to this spiral staircase as well. Through here we've got a gallery where I am going to eventually put some of my custom pixel art in these frames. And this hallway has a couple different rooms. I think over here I'm going to do some bedrooms for the people who live here. And in this room I would like to do potion brewing and map making. If we come up this hidden little staircase right here, we come up to the third floor. This is going to look down at the library. I would like to have some maps up here, maybe a place for all of our buried treasure maps, and some more of the library continuing up along here. Speaking of the library, let's go get a better view of it from down below. Alright, through here is our grand library. There's just something about libraries that I really love, and this area is no exception. I love that looms create these great bookshelves. We've got the new lectern now, and we can do all these fun things with lanterns and these desks with the scaffolding, and I've decided to put in a bunch of these different layers as well so that we can get up and down and look at different levels of bookcases. Obviously, this area is still pretty incomplete, but I think you can get a good idea of the sort of feel that I'm going for in here. Past here, we are eventually going to create a master bedroom and probably some sort of moon observatory, because of course the sun rises over here. That's pretty much it for the second and third floors so far, but there's still more to see down on the main floor. So let me head down this staircase here, and through this little doorway that we just passed by to come up here, we have the dining room. One thing that I really like about this room is how the shape really complements the type of room that it is. I love the fans hanging down from the tall ceilings. I think that fits really well into the tropical area, because typically in a room like this I would maybe want to put a fireplace, but of course this is a tropical lush area. We don't need a fireplace to keep warm. It's never cold here. So I think fans suit this area well and would keep everyone cool. I'm also having some shulker boxes hidden in here, and that is where I keep some of my food so that I can stay nice and stocked up as I'm walking through. The next room over is our ballroom, and once again we've got all of that lovely underwater theme coming through in this room. A large sort of royal looking rug in the center here that I assume they would roll up for balls, and a big whale chandelier up at the top. I really love this. I think it opens up the room nicely because I didn't want to have any furniture in the middle of this floor. I think it's nice to have that accent up there in the ceiling. We've also put a big painting, and instead of large windows in here, we've got this little thin aquarium. On this side, I would like to do something musical, maybe a piano or a jukebox, something like that, to kind of add some music to this. The ballroom is a pretty important room. It is actually also the entrance to our gardens. We have two sets of gardens here. We've got the above water gardens and the under the sea gardens. I really love both of these and how they've turned out. We've got our Gemini sign detail here in the very center of our palace. And then on either side, we've got palm trees, symmetrical fountains that kind of remind me of a pearl, which is why I decided to do them in white. And eventually we are going to have lots of color along here. Lots of flowers, bushes, trees, and some more colorful areas like this. This coral is able to stay here because the stairs that it is sitting on is waterlogged, which is something that I really love. I think it adds a lot to these gardens. Let's continue now down underwater into the underwater gardens. This is an area that we finished up fairly recently, and I really love it. We can walk along this pathway here where we've got some sea pickle type of lanterns, kind of look like candlesticks, some benches out of prismarine, and on either side of our main path we have these terrariums. So each of these terrariums are themed differently. This one's a sunflower plains, and this one over here has a custom tree and is more like a forest biome. I really love the look of these, especially with them kind of surrounded in coral. It looks like they belong down here under the water, but they still of course match with the theme of our palace. I think it ties the whole area together really well. And at the end of our path, of course, we have this conduit. This is the second conduit design that we did. This one is shaped like a very large flower, with the center being the actual conduit. I think this gives such a magical feeling, and I really like the way that it turned out, and the fact that we tied nature into both of our conduits. The view from here is also pretty good, if I do say so myself, although I might be biased. Let's head back into that palace now. We're just gonna enter back in through the ballroom that we just saw and continue along. Down here is a little bit more unfinished than some of the areas that we just saw, but if we turn left, we have the kitchen. For the kitchen, I decided to do some simple countertops with an aquarium backsplash, and this sort of oven area that vents to the outside. I really like this detail, and although we don't have any cupboard space or very many workstations in here yet, I am excited to finally finish it, and I think you can kind of see the theme that I'm going for, even just from this. Back outside, we have this entrance, which leads into our gardens, and if we continue along here, we actually have our canal. So this is where ships, well, small ships and boats, like this one right here, can come in, drop off passengers, and leave as they please. I really like this little detail. The terrain was sort of naturally leading to this, with the water coming into this area and narrowing the island, so I think us working with the terrain in that way ended up really working out. I love when we can get inspired by Minecraft's natural terrain. Let's head back outside to get a closer look at this side of the palace. This side of the palace has our sunshine ship right here. I'm really proud of this ship. I have never really built a ship in survival mode before, so I like the way that this one turned out. I think it sits nicely in the water and it suits the design of our palace. This is where I'm currently using to chop down all of my trees, my resources for everything, but eventually I will clean this up into a nice beach. I would like to maybe have a spot for turtles along here, and also a good spot for our beacon. This beacon is quite obviously temporary. I have this here because I actually have efficiency 5 on my pick, so in order to dig this canal, I was able to insta-mine the stone using this beacon. I also used this to gather all of this terracotta. Speaking of which, let me show you how much we've actually gathered. If I go into my statistics, items, and times used, we have used 17,000 terracotta. I know in terms of my creative builds, that's not really very many, but combined with the amount of dark prismarine, which is kind of hard to get, you need a squid ink and 8 prismarine shards to make it, and we've placed almost 13,000. I think those are pretty crazy numbers, and I'm proud of myself for being able to get all of those thousands and thousands of blocks to build up this palace. This has really helped with that for sure, as have our AFK-able farms. Let's leave the palace now and go check those out. Although I haven't built a ton of stuff out by our AFK farms, I think it's still important to give you guys a look and also show you the coordinates so that you can go visit there yourself. We are just right now going to head in the south direction. It takes about 2 rocket charges to get there usually, if I do it right. And as promised, there is our lighthouse, and right behind it we have the Guardian Farm. So this is the source of all of the prismarine that you see around this place. There it goes. This is just a simple bubble farm. I think this design is by Cubfan. It was done in the Hermitcraft recent season, and I was inspired by that design and decided that it would be perfect for my world. So shout out to them for making this possible. It's definitely a very good design and more than efficient enough for what I needed. Of course, when I have something functional, I usually try and make it pretty. So this island sits with a beautiful lighthouse on it and some palm trees. This is just a pretty classic lighthouse design, if I'm being honest. We've got the red stripe going up. Nothing too creative going on here, except for the fact that I've tied in some prismarine, some yellow glass at the top to make it look like it's actually glowing, and we've got some palm trees around it to keep that tropical feeling. If we enter inside, you'll see that it's pretty unfinished in here. This is one of the spots that I AFK, and if I jump all the way down, I do have some plans for in here, but I haven't gotten around to them yet. To be honest, I might never get around to them, but I like thinking them up anyways. So this is the area where the guardians come. They can be auto-killed in there, or we can switch this button and turn it into an XP farm. It's very, very good for XP, and that's why I also have an enchantment table out here, as well as an anvil so that I can get all of my stuff nice and repaired in this area. So we've got prismarine shards collecting and lots of prismarine crystals. Over there is our fish collecting system. And you can see that these items just fly up here and then they get sorted around this system. And they just keep going around and around until they are eventually sorted into a chest. Alright, that's pretty much all there is to this area, so let me head to the other farm now. Just in case you were wondering, these are the coordinates of this lighthouse island if you are downloading this world and need to get out here. If I fly in this direction, east and a little bit north, we will hit the squid farm. I will warn, I haven't done a ton of building out here, or actually any building at all. It's not an area that I go on camera. I haven't decided to make it pretty. I think I could if I put my mind to it, but it's just sort of an area where I gather some resources so that I can focus all of my energy on the palace. And within this savanna is that lovely AFK area that I was talking about. So as you can see, I've got some sheep going over here, which is how I've got a lot of my carpet. I didn't want to have more passive mobs taking up the mob cap and, well, sounding very loud over at the palace. So I put them over here, and if I'm ever AFKing, I tend to do some fishing over here as well. And right up there is where I AFK the Squid Farm. Squid Farm is pretty simple. This is also a design by Ilmango, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what I would do without Ilmango. Shout out to him. But let's continue down this ladder where I will show you the collection. So this is just one of those sugarcane Squid Farm designs. There's a simple minecart going along, collecting the ink, and distributing it right here. This collects more than enough ink for my needs, at least. And as you can see in the palace, we've gotten lots and lots of dark prismarine from it. Here are the coordinates to this area if you need them, and if we take off in the northwest direction, we will very quickly hit the palace. I haven't connected any of this up to the Nether because it's so quick to get here by Elytra. It's almost more effort for me to connect things up in the Nether. I really don't enjoy building in the Nether. As you can see, our palace is completely surrounded by this coral reef. This seed is really amazing. I'll put the seed in the description as well if you wanted to use it without my massive palace on it and build something for yourself. It's a really inspiring area to build, especially if you like the sea quite a lot. Now, I do think we have seen the majority of this palace, but there is one area that we are missing, and that is of course our mermaid statue. I was so excited to try and do organics in survival mode, and although it was quite a challenge, especially on this smaller scale, I really like the way that she turned out. I think there's definitely a couple things that I could probably adjust, but for the most part, I'm pretty proud of her. It's very challenging to do organics, and doing them on a small scale in survival is even worse. Let's head down these double staircases here and follow this path. This leads to our underwater sanctuary, and I have a few people to thank for making this series possible. This is my thank you haul. So I would like to quickly say thank you to everyone who has been viewing this series, commenting on this series and giving me suggestions or feedback or whatever, and liking each of the videos and supporting them as they come out, who has been inspiring me throughout, and of course for each and every one of my donators, YouTube members, and Patreons who are making it possible for me this summer to finally do YouTube as a full-time job while I'm not being a student over in the summer months. So thank you so much to each and every one of these people who have made that possible for me and make it possible for me to do this series. Because of them, this series will be a lot more consistent over the summer months. I'll no longer have to miss weeks for work or school or various things, and I really appreciate them. They've helped me out so much. Thank you everyone who has helped with this. All of your names mean so much to me. You're amazing. I appreciate you all. Alright, now that we've been down in the sanctuary and said our thank yous, let's head maybe back over here a little ways. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of my palace and my world. I've been really enjoying making it and growing my community closer and closer together through this series. Thank you all for all of your inspiration and for your support on this series. I appreciate it so much. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I really hope you enjoy exploring my world for yourself. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone!